Of all the things that could be taken up as a betting ring, Captain Lawson Medea never understood the humans' insistence of robot fights. Sure, they had an abundance of spare parts. The humans and rats both refused to let anything broken get shoved out the airlock, and that had to turn into something. Previously, there were card games and the resulting brawls. There was an interesting dynamic there, but then she recruited a human. A single human talked with the rats already nested in her ship's bulkheads, and started cataloguing things they'd done. Unofficial plasma conduits and sub-reactors got documented, upgraded and humified. The non-standard limited-use turrets were registered as a ship armament, then rebuilt 20 times. When they ran out of things to rip open and fiddle with, they looked at the cargo bay full of stuff they took apart, pulled out or never used, and said, "I know just the thing." Thus, little machines that could traverse uneven terrain and swing weapons on the command of 2 thumbsticks and a button became the new betting ring. They started small, so she allowed it. Then they'd run through enough cargo to collect a whole frigate's worth of pirate scrap, and now... She wasn't sure exactly when the machines started moving like that. The screens in the bridge focused of the boarding party, consisting mostly of crab-like people or 4-armed goats. They had tools and guns of equal magnitude, and chuckled to each other about finding the meat of the ship. One particularly egregious comment seemed to prompt one of the 5 bots to swing out at them. They got clonked in the shoulder as the armoured quadruped kept out with its spider-like legs splayed. It took up the whole corridor. Each arm held a 70-kilogram steel rotor claw with electric motors from an old hydraulic system. The pirates wasted no time in shooting at the bot. It stood there as its armour gained new craters, nothing compared to the rips and gashes already stitching the panels together. It stood there and revved up its claws. In 10 seconds, its motors growled in electric fury as its pincers built up speed, getting a final push as their motor came into phase with its power system. Some idiot thought it must have been inert and approached it with a wrench. That wrench tore a crab near clean in half almost 20 meters from where the bot smacked it out of the goat's hands, before then smacking the goat. Bullets, bolts, sparks, fire and tools flew, the bot lunging into every attack, lifting its legs to let its rotors drag it along as it began to jump and spin the angry spin it was known for. Depth Charge Mark 19 left the corridor with as many new chunks of pirates listed about as missing pieces of wall and floor. Off in another hallway, a rival bot that used flywheels in its thighs to charge dashes and jumps left trenches and spades carved in its wake, finding itself best applied by simply body slamming anything that moved. Yet another had filled its route with smoke and was using its disco ball of laser rangefinders to identify and firmly grasp intruders. And one the crew had completely lost track of used old forestry equipment to make rather dangerous things happen whenever it touched anything. Minesweeper hadn't been activated yet, but it was a fairly hard hitter, using projectiles chained to spinning discs and nearly direct drive from a hefty internal combustion engine. It was undoubtedly dangerous. "Human, why did you insist on using the machines to defend us?" she asked her maintenance tech. He smiled up at her. "We have a saying back in human space. There are no mistakes, only happy accidents." The shout, like an angry beehive, emanated from the screens covering the main insertion point. The sound of too many 2-stroke engines, echoing off hard metal walls, almost demoralized the pirates then and there. An anti-fighter plasma cannon lit the hallway like a match down a pipe, showing the skeletal frame of the woodsman for a moment as it passed by, already draped over and tangled with remains of his trees. "Yes, Usher would be proud. We get to demonstrate the importance of workplace safety and equipment awareness." She turned to look at her tech, at his grin, and decided the betting pool was the best place for her eyes to be at the moment.